So it looks like this is shaping out to be a very frightening season for a lot of your favorite cable news anchors. The Daily Mail is reporting that CNN is set to axe top stars that will see hundreds at the network fired. Turns out declining viewership and bloated payrolls don't make for good job security. For those of you who have been asking, is cable news dead? I say not yet, but it's on life support, and the family and the priest have been called in. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Gyal and this is ThisBahamianGyal. On my platform I do social commentary and reaction videos. I encourage my audience to have private conversations in public. Now I'm sure by now many of you have already seen the Daily Mail's headline story that says that CNN is going to axe top stars in layoffs that'll see hundreds fired, and this is all due to the fact that their ratings are tanking. Let me read a little bit of this headline story. This was published on November 12th. It says CNN is planning to wield the axe on some of its high-paid staff after dismal election ratings that cap off a disastrous period for the cable news network. And this comes after the departure of stalwart Chris Wallace, and amid reports senior stars like Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tapper have both been denied raises. Now, there is no mention of who may be on the chopping block, but it also mentions the highest stars, the highest paid stars that include Anderson Cooper, who takes home $20 million a year, Aaron Burnett, who takes home $6 million a year, and rising star Caitlin Collins, who reportedly earns $3 million a year. Those are hefty salaries that the struggling network is having to saddle, and they don't have the viewership and the ratings to, in my estimation, to warrant those heavy salaries. So let me just show you what TheWrap.com had to say. This is its headline story. MSNBC viewership drops by half in days after Trump victory. Total daily viewership for MSNBC fell by 51%. Woo! While viewership for CNN dropped by 26% as Fox News dominates. Now, on election night, MSNBC scored 6 million viewers compared to CNN's 5.1 million. But in the days after the election, the network's total day ratings fell to 808,000, with a 90,000 in the coveted 25 to 54-year-old demo. This is according to Nielsen, which gives the numbers. Now you would think, oh, they scored 6 million viewers. This is MSNBC. Look at a channel like mine. I don't have the budget that CNN or MSNBC has. I'm a one-man band. There is no overhead costs. There's nobody else to pay. It's just me. I did a video a day ago, and if you look at the number on that video, you can just scroll down because I know most of you are watching this on your phones. I think I'm at like 436,000. Just off of that video. Now, all of my videos don't clock that. Some might be 1 million, some it might be 200 something thousand, some might be 50,000, some might be 60,000. It varies. But if I could clock those kinds of numbers in a day on my little channel with no backing support, certainly not the kind of money that these guys are working with, I can only imagine what the powers that be are thinking over at CNN and MSNBC. 6 million viewers for MSNBC on election night. There are YouTubers who drop videos and they get 6 million views in like 2 hours. Some of them get that in 30 minutes. And I'm sure some of them aren't earning $20 million a year. I'm sure by now many of you have already seen this now viral tweet by Wokeness on X that is talking about these MSNBC ratings collapsing. So I want to just run this down really quickly for those of you who may not have seen it. I don't want to assume that everybody's seen it. And these are the numbers. It says Joy Reid from MSNBC down 54.6%. Ooh, Molly, you in danger, girl. Ari Melber down 49.6%, Chris Hayes down 47.2%, Alex Wagner is down 53.6%, Morning Joe Scarborough down 39.6%. Now this, child, I talking about Joy Reid being in danger. Stephanie Rule. Danger! She is down 67%. That's when you start getting your resumes together. Andrea Mitchell is down 39.7%. I want to talk about why I think a lot of these legacy networks are just tanking in the ratings, why people are just tuning out of them. I said in a previous video that I always believe that there's always going to be an appetite by some people to watch these networks, but I think a lot of people have been navigating away from that, moving away from that, and I've explained this in previous videos. So I've been questioning how it is that these networks like CNN and MSNBC are struggling, considering that they have some of the top talent in their ranks. I mean, these aren't just regular folks. These are people who are known internationally. Why do they not have enough star power, enough wattage to bring people into the fold, to have them watching their programs? And I think it boils down to 4 fundamental reasons that I'm going to explain. I think what they're missing is that people really want to hear some balance. What we have today aren't journalists. What we have today are advocates and social justice warriors and activists who are masquerading as journalists. For myself and so many other people who don't really align with a political party, it's difficult to tune into MSNBC. For me, I like fairness across the board. And I will say personally that I have watched MSNBC and CNN after watching, let's just say, Donald Trump interview. And I'm always kind of blown and baffled at the way they spin things. It's like, that's not what he said, and that wasn't the context in which he said it. That's not accurate. And then I have to go over to Fox News, and then it's just like, everything is glorified. And sometimes I'm like, no, that's a little, you're downplaying this part. And so for people like me, I have to go cherry picking through all these different news outlets just to figure out which one is the one that I should be watching. So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people were tuning out, because they didn't feel as if they were being fair, especially if you are somebody who is right leaning. You may not be like super right, but if you're right leaning and you tune into MSNBC and you don't feel as if your candidate or your politician who you love is getting a fair shake, you're going to be turned off and you're just going to go somewhere else. I think a lot of people have decided that you guys are too unfair, you don't play nicely, and I don't want to watch anymore. This is precisely why I celebrated when the Washington Post and the LA Times said that they were not going to be endorsing a political candidate this election season. Your job is to present the news in as much of a neutral fashion as possible and let me, the reader, or if it's news broadcast, the listener or the viewer make up their own mind. I watch CNN all the time, and one of my greatest frustrations is when I'm watching, I see a round table with a lot of left-leaning commentators, and those who aren't left-leaning are more left-leaning sympathizers. And then you might have a Republican or a right-leaning person thrown in there, one or two, and their voices are drowned out by the left-leaning commentators. And it's just like, this is just not even, it doesn't feel equally yoked to me. If I feel like you're drowning out certain voices, it's going to be a turn off for me. And I think it's a turn off for a lot of viewers. So all in all, I think people just got tired of being lectured to and talked down to, and they got tired of seeing their favorite politician or candidate not getting a fair shake on these platforms. I think another reason why people have been tuning out of MSNBC and CNN is because of their elitist attitudes, this haughty attitude of, I know better, you dear voter, you dear viewer, you don't know, you don't know. I have to guide you, I have to hold your hand and tell you how to think and tell you what to do. And I think a lot of people got really tired of that. There's also, in my estimation, this blatant disregard and disrespect for any opposing viewpoint. I've watched them disrespect people who have a different viewpoint. And as a viewer tuning in, I'm sitting back like, that was rude. I disagree. Or I see what this person is saying over here, and you're basically calling them stupid. And if I think that way, are you then calling me stupid? When you come across as a stuffy know-it-all, people are going to tune out. Another thing that I realize is that people didn't want to always just get their news from the legacy media, whom they feel a level of distrust for. And the reality is that legacy media just cannot control the narrative the way that they used to. There are just too many outlets right now that are giving them a run for their money. You have people who are tuning in to podcasters or watching YouTubers or watching what's going on X and getting their news. You know, there are certain things that weren't covered by legacy media that people are finding out about through YouTubers and podcasters. And they're like, why wasn't this on CNN and why wasn't this on MSNBC? So when that happens, they start to think, oh, you're hiding certain information from me. So let me go to the source that just gives me everything unfiltered. And I think that's definitely what's driving that. And also there's an access factor too to YouTubers and podcasters. Listen, when you all watch a video of mine, you go down into the comments section. I cannot respond to every single one of you. okay? Because it's thousands of people responding, but for the most part, a lot of you have gotten responses from me. So there's an accessibility factor there. You could say whatever you want about CNN or MSNBC. Joy Reid is not going to be responding to that. Even if she has a personal page, she may have handlers, people there that are managing her page, and it's not really her. So I think people feel a greater sense of connection to podcasters and YouTubers who they can just reach out and touch and say, I didn't like this, and then they can get a response. And so I don't think that we should downplay that level of access to one another. And I love the fact too that sometimes people in the comment section will say, hey, can you investigate this, or can you talk about this? That doesn't necessarily happen on like legacy media, because there are so many gatekeepers. And if you were to put forth something that they weren't comfortable with, they just shut you down. I think when a lot of the powers that be at MSNBC and CNN start really crunching the numbers, they start to think, what am I paying for? I'm paying somebody $20 million a year. That's Anderson Cooper. I'm paying Rachel Maddow, and I think she gets good ratings. I got to check her ratings, but she's getting $30 million for a once a week show. What are her numbers looking like? How do they stack up against some podcaster? I mean, I look at someone like Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly comes from legacy media. She was with Fox, and then she later went to NBC, and then she was let go, and now she owns her own media company, and she has her show on Sirius FM. A multi-million-dollar a year deal. I think it has been suggested that she makes $8 million, but I've never seen a concrete number. So she could be making more, she could be making less. But she will put out videos, and I mean, a day you're seeing 1 million views, 2 million views. Same thing with Piers Morgan Uncensored. He will put out his show, and I mean, in a matter of hours, he could hit 2 million views. Candace Owens the other day had a video that got like 1 million views in a day. Joe Rogan, we know how he performs. He performs really well. Shannon Sharp has, like, I think one of his videos, the one with Cat Williams, is like 80 million views, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to double check. And he puts out video content, and he gets in the millions in a matter of hours. And so I think the powers that be are looking at all of that, because they're not stupid, and they're saying, why are we investing all this money into people who are not getting us 100 million views on a show or 90 million views on a show? So definitely they're going to be cleaning house. So given the reports about CNN and possibly MSNBC downsizing, there's been a lot of people who've been questioning the role of legacy media and the relevance of legacy media, whether we even need them around. And the answer to me is absolutely resoundingly yes. You do need well-seasoned, trained reporters in the field. I mean, it's wonderful that you have podcasters and social media content creators who are talking about these things, but I think having somebody who has been in the field, who understands the news cycle, despite their political leanings. Also, a lot of them have been in the business long enough where they're able to recall a wealth of information because they've lived through a lot of historic moments. Many of the reporters I'm talking about lived through 9/11, for example. They were able to go out there in New York and report on this event as it was happening. And a 19-year-old, wonderful that they can read up on these events, but they won't be able to speak with any conviction about what it felt like to be in New York at the time, to smell the smoke in the air, to see the panic in people's eyes. And there's a big difference there. Another point I need to make is that a lot of times people will say, well, what is this individual making all this money for? $18 million, $20 million a year. Like, why all that money? Here's the reality. You're paying for someone's image. You're paying for their likeness. You're paying for their star power. That's important, right? But a lot of these individuals don't work regular jobs like you and me. They do not. It's not a 9-to-5 gig. You talk to a lot of reporters. You talk to a lot of news anchors. They're telling you how they have to be ready to go at the drop of a dime. They're working crazy odd hours. Think about election night. Many of you could have said, I'm going to sleep now. I'm tired. I'll catch up on the news tomorrow and see who won. These reporters, these journalists, these anchors, they're working straight throughout the night. And it's not like they're sleeping in the day a lot of them, and then coming in to do the work in the evening. A lot of them are prepping for the whole night, and then they go into the night, and then they have to go right into the next morning to do these assessments. So it is a lot of work. So I don't want to downplay that at all. And again, I'm never against anybody getting the bag. Like, I want everybody to make their money. Money gets printed every single day. People can make their money. But the issue here for me is if there aren't any great ratings to validate the paycheck, then why are you being paid so much? Here on YouTube, let me tell you, I don't make $18 million a year. I don't make $20 million a year. Shoots, I don't even make $2 million or $1 million a year. And this is a one-man band operation. The lighting, all me. The camera work, sometimes you might see me do this. I'm not doing this because I'm vain and I want to see myself. I'm trying to make sure I'm still in frame like that. I want to make sure, because there's no other person in here to say, hey, fix your shirt, Rogan. Something's in your teeth, Rogan. Something, you're doing everything. You're doing the lighting. You're making sure. Every time I look over here, I'm not looking at notes over here. I'm looking to make sure that my sound is still recording. So you're doing your lighting, you're doing your sound, you're producing your own content, you're doing your own research, you're presenting, you do your own makeup, you do your own hair. Everything is done in-house by a lot of content creators do it by themselves. They don't have a team. The Megyn Kellys of the world and the Pierce Morgans of the world and the Shannon Sharps of the world, they have a team. They have a team. But for most people, they're doing this by themselves and they're getting high ratings. They're getting great numbers. People are scratching their heads like, okay, if this person could do all of this by themselves and they ain't even making nowhere close to what this $20 million guy is making, but they're getting better ratings, they're getting bigger viewership, better engagement. What are we doing? A lot of people want to tune into news sources that are a little bit more independent, where they don't feel like a political party has control. I can tell you, I would never take an advertisement from someone who is telling me how to report something. Anytime you see a sponsor on my channel, they might say, hey, Rogan, we would like to sponsor a political video because, certain political videos just do really well on my platform. So they might be like, I want to sponsor a political video, but they don't say, can you talk about this, that, and the next? If they did, I would be like, I'm not interested in your sponsorship. Thank you. No, thank you. I've had sponsors who said, I don't want to be anywhere near a political story. So if you don't mind, put us in a video where you're doing something a little bit more fun, like maybe talking about a BBL, a Brazilian butt lift. And I'll say, sure, I'll throw you in that video, not a problem. But the sponsors don't control me. And I have 100% authority to say, and free reign to say, I'm not going to take that sponsorship. I get offered sponsorships all the time. And I turn down a huge chunk of them just because either I don't use it, I don't believe in the product, or it's just not a good fit for me. Drop your comments down below. I'm very curious to hear what you all have to say. Do you think that they should have been getting that money in the first place? Some of them have been denied raises, even though they're making a huge chunk of money. Drop your comments, let me know. And if you like this content, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And again, leave your comment down below. Share this video with friends and family who you think might enjoy it. Watch my other playlists here on the channel. And if you want to support this channel financially and keep it independent, go down below in my description box and you will see the various ways that you can contribute. One of my favorite ways is for you to buy me a coffee, and the link will be in the description box. I'll put the QR code on the screen. And you can go there and donate whatever you want. And of course, there is no obligation to doing this. You don't need to feel pressured. I'm saying it because that's how the channel makes money. So I want to thank you so much for that. And I will see you all in my next video.